It's our new series here. How Fake is Earth? Part 1. How fake is Earth? Food. Let's start with peanuts. I eat the peanut, and it's got 9 grams of protein and 3 grams of carbs and 7 grams of fat. But the peanut comes out Jeffrey Epstein's favorite hole. And then it's still a whole peanut. Nothing happened to the peanut. There's nothing going on. Nobody didn't do nothing with it. There's nothing going on there. And they don't warn you. You know, you can make these arguments if you're a Mensa scientist building them rockets that are exploding for Elon Musk. That it's not biologically available. What's its BVA content? Well, no one's ever warned me that peanut has a low BVA content, so I've never heard of that before. So that's not the problem there. So how fake is it? How fake is it that for 6 years I run almost pure alcohol through my body every day and I don't die? And people Hollywood, these AI people on the CBS, the I media, the pyramid people, media, Hollywood, they're all seeing I media. How the hell does the all seeing AI die from doing what I do in one day over their entire lifetime, and then I don't die in one day? And it just seems as fake as that. That's what it feels like. It's like they tell you gotta eat, the food pyramid. See, they can never shut the fuck up. The food pyramid. You're a slave. The pyramid is a slave caste system with the AI at the top of it that they worship as their god, the robots worship. And then so everything, it's just a pyramid scheme. This is where it comes from. What do you think it comes from? The temple or the ocean? It's called the pyramid scheme, not the ocean scheme, not the air scheme, which is coming up, right? The air scheme's coming up. They're telling you that for 10, 20 years. They've been warning you you're going to have to pay for air soon. And no doubt it once they find a way. I mean, an extra 2 cents a day for you poor bums out there who know nothing about business. If you add 2 cents a day to $1 million a day, you're siphoning off everyone else. You are 2 cents richer. You isn't a dumbass not figuring shit out. You's maximizing profits and revenue and income coming in. And so anyway, so how fake is that? I eat peanuts and they come out the Jeffrey Epstein hole, and they still peanuts, but there's calories in there. Wow. There's a lot of things involving how fake this is. Like sometimes I'll drink something like alcohol, and I'll feel its effects like as soon as it hits my tongue. And it's like how fucked up and unrealistic is that? And then other times I take like 100 hits of acid and I don't feel nothing. And I'm driving around town, going to visit everyone in the city, stopping at all the shops, the Guitar Center. I'm like, what's up, bro? He's on 100 hits of acid. How you doing? Let's have a good day today. And then supposedly some other people is like, whoosh. They're acting like they aren't even themselves, and a devil is taking over their body or some shit. Right? A giant killer teddy bear, like from the Full Moon Entertainment Puppet Master series teddy bear. Yeah, exactly. And then it takes one of your other friends who is on not as much as you, but as much as the other, to go manhandle him and hold his arm so he can't pound everything around him anymore. And you wonder, like, how fake is that? How does that work? But then all it really takes is you eat the peanuts, and then the peanuts come out the Epstein hole, and then the peanuts is still there. So what has happened? Nothing. Nothing has happened. You didn't scrape 7 grams of protein off some peanut shells and then the entire shell is left. The whole thing is supposedly a molecular bond. Each little piece of it, each little pixel of it, each little particle of light, I think, supposedly a molecular bond that it creates, and then you add it together, and the more you get, right? With a steak, do you want a steak that big, or do you want a steak this big? That's right, you want a steak 10 times that big. But you don't get it, right? So how does that happen? How does the peanut go in about this size and come out about that size? For those of you who I don't know, but 2 seconds is a long time, right? So this is the same pill. It's exactly the same size, and the peanuts come out the same size. I haven't weighed them, but it hasn't broken into the peanut, to extract the nutrients, going in there, we're going to extract all the valuable resources from it. Give me $1 million so I can do it type stuff. It didn't do it. So how's there any nutritional value in that all? And I know, if you're there with me, Sean, this is one thing you're talking about. But no, this is a lot of things I'm talking about here. There's a lot of things going on like this. And yes, peanuts, as far as that, is definitely one of those things where, while that didn't change, maybe that's an anomaly. But, Einstein, he retired the Bible and he came with us with the science. And then he's like, this is how the world works now. And then Santa Claus delivered the peanuts, and you eat the peanuts, and you're so hungry, and now you're happy because you ate a peanut. And now you're happy, right? And your body's fueled and all that. But how does that happen? Because it doesn't make sense when I eat 16 grams of something and it's supposed to give me 14 grams of calories and energy and nutrients. There ain't no nutrients in peanuts except for what, vitamin E? Am I correct on that? I wouldn't know. But it's supposed to be some protein and some fats. And so how do you get anything out of that if it doesn't break it down at all? And to me, it just adds more layers to what's really going on here, how fake it all is and stuff. And man, this whole food pyramid scheme, like, why do they call it the food pyramid? By the time you get educated, you learn that the pyramid is enslaving the planet. The pyramid people are no good. So you wouldn't want to follow a food pyramid. How about a food guideline? But instead, they put their trademark on it. They put the trademark of bullshit and delusion on it. And they call it the food pyramid. We already know there's been no flying eagle people gods on the planet. We already know that everything they produce, since there's no purpose for these giant sand pyramids. It's sand castles. It's just busybody work. We already know. And everyone thinks these Masons, and I'm not saying anything bad about them. I work for them and talk to them and stuff, and interrogated them. But everyone knows they're bad and evil and all that. So why would we call it the food pyramid if we were trying to distance it from delusions and put some reality on it? It doesn't make sense to me, because it comes out about the same size that it goes in. And it's like, how's my body extracting anything from that if it hasn't smashed the peanut down, to extract all the nutrients from it and all that stuff? Maybe it really is just peanuts, and some other things are on this non-biologically available thing. Maybe they're lying to us about the biologically available stuff. But all I know for sure here is I've been lied to since I was born, and I don't think I've ever met anyone who wasn't lying, so I don't know who's on my side. The people who I know were on my side were quiet, and it's like, well, Shit, I understand. That's the best weapon is to shut your fucking mouth and not say any of the dumb shit you're saying. And no one would figure out. So, you know, what's with the peanuts? What's with the food pyramid? How come I didn't eat most of my life and I'm alive? I looked like a kid until American Babylonian citizens started trying to kill me a lot more in the open and in 2020. So I look like I didn't eat, but I didn't care. Do I sound like a person who thinks you should eat and you gotta eat 5 meals a day and get 10 million calories or what? I know all that shit, but just making fun of it. That makes no sense. Like I used to live on like Mountain Dew when it was called Surge. There was a Surge and there was a Kick and then Mountain Dew and then the Fago Mountain Mist and then Kroger brand and Johnny go out their own brand, but yeah, it was Kick. It was definitely Kick and Surge. Hell yeah. But I lived on that for a while, and I'd go eat like 1 or 2 tacos a day with like a 2 liter or 2 liters of Kick, and I was fine. And when I was a kid, my parents was all like, "Oh, hell," I mean, yeah, yeah. My parents was like, "Oh, eat healthy," and then we eat this greasy, chili stuff that has like puddles of grease in it, which I wouldn't consider healthy if I'm trying to like drop down some weight and shit, right? I wouldn't include that in my diet. And he's like, oh, the 5 food pyramids, and you gotta have them tomatoes and them onions and them peppers, and I didn't eat that shit most of my life. Like once I hit 15, I never touched any of those plants again. I've tried to in the past 10 years, and I just threw a bunch out because they was like a few years old, and I didn't eat them. Um, I eat pizza sauce. That's got tomatoes in it, don't it? And I got these little spice containers, right? Let's see what's in here. Some onions, some salt, vinegar powder, food starch, dehydrated vegetables. There we go. There you go. It tastes like I'm eating my vegetables. Mm. Mm-mm-mm. Gotta love those vegetables as long as they're way more salt and vinegar and everything else than the vegetables, and they can taste good. It was like I didn't eat that for like 30 years. And then I take my vitamin again the other day. Let's add a little more to this. Take my vitamin again the other day because I got all of the drugs. I got the B drug, the C drug, the D drug, B12, B6. I got all that shit. You want something? Come on over. I'll hook you up for a low price. And it makes my piss like toxic fucking yellow within like 6 hours, and sometimes smell bad too. And I actually had like my heart started hurting. Like I took my vitamin, and then my heart starts hurting, and then I'm pissing out toxic waste colors. And it's like, so what's up with that? And shit, fucking. And that happens a lot like that. Like I took medicine from my doctor before. I think people might have been poisoning me around that time, but then I got my first heart problems. You know, it was a long time coming, being force fed amphetamines when I'm a child and shit. But and being just they say it's nervousness, right? They say my heart problems is because humans scare me so much that my body is locking up and my muscles are fucking locking down and shit. But it makes sense, but some motherfuckers causing it. And so I was like, well, shouldn't you, like, if you're trying to stop it, shouldn't you stop this conversation and be like, don't come back to see me, this is causing me problems. It doesn't work because they ain't making no money off that. They ain't making no money off selling me some food if I don't need it. You know, if I don't have to eat, they ain't making money off that shit. If I don't have to eat vitamins, they ain't making money off that shit. I didn't eat vitamins half my life. Maybe that's more than a lot of other people, and that's why I look so smooth and slim my whole life or something. But I get the idea that's not it. I get the idea that all that's just bullshit. Some things seem like you're using your brain to manipulate reality, and they definitely want you to think that. And then other things I see make me think something else is happening. But that doesn't make anyone else money to say that. Doesn't people who are already got the money and already own everything, they ain't making nothing off making up, oh, people who got the money is making up shit and dumb shit you don't need. Why do you need to go to school? Why do your parents need to pay to school? The government for 12 years of schooling, if there is no 5 food groups and there's no need to eat the 3,000 calories a day, and you get your B and your C and your D and your F and your G and your testosterone vitamins daily. But on the counter, you take some of this shit like testosterone, you're gonna notice, like when your hair starts falling out 3 days later, you're gonna notice, like, or you take biotin and you see the ridges on your nails appear here, and you know, like, hey, that's what that said it does. And then when you stop taking biotin and you notice my nails have never been as strong as they used to be ever since I started taking and stopped taking biotin. Anyways, it's all a great fancy puzzle, isn't it? That's what it's all about, blah, blah, blah. It's really not. It's really not. It's about ignoring it all and taking what's given to you because no one's working. No one's working towards ending any of this shit. They own, control everything. I mean, there's clones on this planet, robots. Who knows who owns which factory is producing all this shit on this planet? And no one would trust them anyways, right? So, I don't know. But I'm just saying, that's bullshit, right? I eat these peanuts over here. It says Reese's, but it's filled with peanuts. I just use the container right now. And it says, it says on the Reese's, 6 grams fat, 240 milligrams sodium, carbs 17, protein 4. So I eat the peanuts in here, and they come out as whole. And sometimes, let's add one last thing, in case you think I'm lying. You've never eaten peanuts and watched it happen. If you haven't watched yourself poop, oh man, that's a life goal right there. Unfortunately, by the time you've done that, you're probably checking for blood and shit like that. So hopefully you've never had to do that. But like when it says sodium, how come different things that say sodium have different effects? Like, and some of them don't taste like salt, and it'll be like 30%. 56% your daily sodium, but you have to add salt to it because it doesn't taste good without a little bit of salt. How is that? What is that? Were they putting formaldehyde in that or something? How is that working? What's all this? I mean, just like everything is bullshit here. Everything is bullshit here. There's no point to being here. You're gonna spend your whole life doing something, and it's going to be crushed by billions of other people who are creating new bullshit every second. And it's going nowhere because you spend, 10, 20, 40 years doing one thing, think you're going to pull in a direction, and they're just dropping shit every second. It's like the Epstein thing. It's been like 8 years. We're on Epstein. And they're raping children every second. And this is backwards. One for what is the count there? We got let's say since 2000, we have had every second, we have had this happen. So we are 2020. My bad. We're not going to go that far back. So 6 years, 6 times 60, 60 seconds, times 60 minutes, times 24 hours, times 365. So in that time, everyone's been talking about Epstein. There's been at least 189,216,000 children who have experienced adult-like situations. It's a new cool term. I just made it up. Kill me if you want to, because that sounds like a good term for fucking for these people, right? It's like fucking who said that? They make the cute term, turn it into PTSD, to shell shock, to wounded warriors. Fucking George Carlin. So in that time, which I think we've underestimated, there's been probably 200 million other people who have loved a child a little differently than we want them to. And just that topic alone, just wasting the time on that. They do this. It's been like a 4 or 6 year rollout on that shit. And I've never heard anyone question the food pyramid. The people I know don't even know science teaching me about the food pyramid. And, just like, you better listen or die. So I'm like, yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. And so I'm like, yeah, the food pyramid, we got to get that protein and that carbs and that fat and a little bit of nuts. Boy, man, that's not even cool, because they're telling you should eat some nuts, and it looks like nuts is the last thing you should be eating and stuff, right? Because how does that come out? How do you extract any energy from that? How do they? Has anyone ever seen how the human body works? Right? Has anyone ever been put in a CAT scan or something like that, MRI machine, and it watched the peanuts or the other food, because the peanuts aren't going to turn to a mush. It's going to come out as solid peanuts. So, what is with this? How come it is so? How come all that shit happens? Like there's this giant bunny coming in 2 weeks too, right? And that's more important than figuring out why peanuts come out the Epstein hole looking like peanuts, but supposedly it's a food value. And then, if it's not a food value, how do squirrels eat it? How do squirrels exist if they live on something that your body really isn't breaking down? How is that? It all looks like magic at the end of the day. You probably seen it where there's people, and you're like, if you're like in the fourth grade biology, what? Yes, biology. Then you understand, like, breathing and walking is a very complicated task. It takes a lot of functions at once to operate together. Eating is pretty easy. You get the food and you stick the spoon in it, and you stick the spoon in your mouth, and you chew it and you swallow it, and then it goes into the stomach and it's digested. Once we get that far, we've gotten to breathing and walking. But as far as just eating, it's real simple. And so I'm trying to figure out where any of this matters and why I'm supposed to care. Why I've wasted my life caring. Like, I mean, wow. I'm not going to get too far off in there, but the people who taught me to waste my life caring didn't care at all. They weren't worried about, they couldn't tell me if their stomach was, if I said, hey, you're limping, did you hurt your stomach? they'd be like, yeah, I damaged my stomach. I hit it against a couch when I was walking by, or a coffee table. And I'd be like, yeah, well, watch out, protect your stomach. And the only person in that conversation who would know that their stomach is not their knee would be me. And I try to figure out, like, how does this happen? How does this shit happen, right? How does this happen? Like, and anyway, I think we got an answer, but the answer is, I don't think anyone cares. So, but it's just like we're all faking emotions, like we actually do care about something. I don't know, man, but that's some weird shit there. I've been eating most of my life, and I'd still look like a fucking kid. I'm like 45, some older than that. And I'd look like a kid if it weren't for the events since 2020 when I still look like a kid before that shit happened. I didn't eat. I didn't even bathe that much. We didn't always have hot water, and it doesn't do any good to bathe. Bathing is garbage. That too, before showers. How are people ever clean without hot water? How are people ever clean? It doesn't work. I'm a professional dishwasher, believe it or not. And I took those skills as a child into an adulthood. And I've learned that you can't clean without hot water and soap. You can't have soap and cold water, and you can't have, cold water and soap. You can't have just hot water. You probably better off with just hot water, but it doesn't work. Things don't get cleaned off and shit. So it all seems really fake and made up and illusionary at the end of the day here. Everything here. And it's they got their the little aliens enslaving the planet with their robots. I'm pretty sure they're hiding, like, the people you see on this planet controlling shit are robot shells that the aliens are controlling because they know, what people want to do to them. And they're scared of what should be done to them. I'm assuming this is why I see these patterns happening. And it makes sense. If I were scared and I were a trillionaire, I'd have 3 bodyguards surrounding me at a time, and most preferably robotic ones who I could blame. Be like, oh, it malfunctioned or something. But this has all been like a real waste of fucking time here and shit. It's like anything and everything, and all they're doing is like learning, and what they're doing is they're forcing people to work and learn stupid stuff that isn't real, and cause like they is real. They taught that in school that they is real. They want me to learn stupid stuff that ain't real, and hey, it's just like all the fucking waste there. I don't know what it's like in the mind of other guys. I wouldn't trust them, but I know from watching on the outside that I don't think they gave a shit. It almost seems like maybe they're smarter to start or something. But none of them had ever warned me, and some of them remained silent when I asked. Like, don't worry, it's just what it is. So that's all there is. No one ever told me that. I'm the only one who's ever said that I know of. Fucking. But it does seem to be what's going on. I mean, how do you eat peanuts and you get nutrition from them, but they come out your asshole? So we could just keep eating the peanuts over and over for eternity and recycle. This is some people's dream job, ain't it? Filtering poop to reclaim the peanuts from it. This doesn't make sense. None of this makes sense. The fact that people in a week are talking about, anyone's talking about giant bunnies. You're not coming near me. You're never going to talk to me. Most people talking about giant bunnies and Bigfoot and aliens are either like so far gone that the first crackhead who comes near you is going to loot you for everything because they're going to give it to them. And they're like, oh, I didn't know. And you're going to have to be like, oh, well, you didn't know. I'm so sorry. Give me a kiss and a hug and we'll make up and then you can go get all my shit again. Or they are that crackhead robbing you and shit. And it's like, I've never had this talk from anyone, right? Like, the best advice I think I got when I was a kid was, or in my life, was from my uncle when he was dying. And he was like, this world's bullshit. And I'm like, wow, that's the greatest thing any person has ever said to me. On his deathbed, his last words were, this is all bullshit. And it stands out in my entire point of life. He didn't give me any details. I'm not mad at him for that because he told me more than anyone in that one sentence. He related the reality, and everyone else hated him, right? But to me, it looks like he figured out it was bullshit, and people who are mad at people who figure out it's bullshit don't like you because they're not gonna feed the bull so they can eat the chocolate mousse dessert it produces out its hind side, right? So, I mean, that's like hope and dope right there, trying to find a positive to it. But it really doesn't feel like it because how does that happen? Why does this science is just another Bible religion? It's Einstein, that person who looks like no woman or man will ever touch him. And I don't know what it's like to be a person who no one has ever wanted to have sex with, but I imagine they watch their videos they've created so much that they think that's the entire point of life is to have sex. So I imagine that their people are probably creating all sorts of ways to be able to, like Howard Stern, to be able to trick a woman into being naked or a man and stuff. That's for the real high elite. That's like Epstein. That ain't the elite because it's women. Elite people don't have sex with women. Come on. The real, bathe in blood and have sex with men has always been the pinnacle of human achievement. Wear some gold chains and bathe in blood and have sex with men. Everyone knows that. What was that? They told us the Romans, they would go in there and rape all the men. Well, why didn't they rape all the women? Well, it's because, that's why they had to go in there and stuff, because they weren't doing it. Anyway, so peanuts, it seems like it's a little thing there that could tell the average person there's something fake going on with all the school nonsense. They gotta create the school and then force you to go to school and then create the college and all this shit. Most people don't even pass with passing grades, so it's like how does the shit even remain intact? If they're not even passing, how come every building isn't like the Leaning Tower of Pisa? If most architects didn't really get good grades, there's so many flaws here in this story going on. Peanuts is one of them. So eat some peanuts tonight and figure it out.